The stars looked peaceful through Captain Park Min-ho's observation window. His ship, the Sol Pride, drifted quietly above Kepler 7b, a green world spinning slowly beneath them. 6 months they had traveled to reach this place, carrying 300 souls eager to build humanity's first home beyond their solar system. "Captain, the beacon is ready for deployment," Lieutenant Commander Choi Ji-woo reported from the bridge. Her hands moved steadily across the control panel, finalizing the setup for their communication system. Park Min-ho nodded, watching the planet's surface through the view screen. They had found this world empty, with no signs of advanced life. Perfect for a colony. The advanced team, led by xenobotanist Lee So-young and Chief Engineer Kim Tae-sung, had already landed and begun establishing the settlement's foundation. "Deploy the beacon," Park Min-ho ordered. "Let's tell Earth we've found our new home." Down on the planet's surface, Lee So-young knelt beside a strange blue flower that seemed to glow in the alien sunlight. Her scanner beeped softly as it analyzed the plant's structure. "Fascinating," she whispered to her assistant. "The root system connects for kilometers. It's like one giant organism." Nearby, Kim Tae-sung supervised the construction of their first permanent shelter. Massive 3D printers worked tirelessly, following blueprints to create walls from the planet's own materials. Children played between the construction sites while their parents unpacked supplies, their laughter echoing across the valley. "Contact on long-range sensors," the Sol Pride sensor officer announced suddenly. Captain Park Min-ho straightened. "Distance and heading?" 6 ships approaching from the outer system. Configuration unknown. "They're on an intercept course. With the planet. Have they responded to our communication attempts?" "Negative, sir. They ignore all hails." Park Min-ho felt his stomach tighten. "Alert the surface team. Prepare for possible evacuation." The alien ships appeared without warning in the planet's upper atmosphere. They were sleek, crystalline vessels that seemed to bend light around their hulls. No one on Earth had ever seen their design before. From the lead ship came a transmission in broken but understandable English. "Primitive mammals. Withdraw immediately. This space belongs to the Valix Council. You have no claim here." Captain Park Min-ho responded quickly. "This is Captain Park Min-ho of the United Earth vessel Sol Pride. We've established a peaceful colony on this uninhabited world. We wish to establish diplomatic relations with your people." The response came not in words, but in weapons fire. Plasma beams struck the colony without warning. The shelter Kim Tae-sung had been building vanished in a flash of white light. 300 people barely had time to scream before the second volley hit. "Captain, the colony—" Choi Ji-woo's voice broke as the sensor readings changed. "I'm not detecting any life signs." Park Min-ho stared at the display in horror. Where their people had been, only smoking craters remained. Lee So-young's research station, Kim Tae-sung's workshop, the children's playground, all gone. "Sir, they're targeting us now," the weapons officer reported, his voice steady despite the circumstances. "Evasive maneuvers. Get us out of here." The Sol Pride's engines roared to life as Choi Ji-woo threw them into a desperate escape pattern. More alien ships appeared, surrounding them. Plasma beams lit up the space around them, barely missing as Choi Ji-woo performed impossible maneuvers. "Jump drive charging at 60%, the engineering officer called out. "We need more time," Choi Ji-woo said through gritted teeth, spinning the ship to avoid another volley. 70%, 80. A plasma beam grazed their hull, and the ship shuddered violently. "Jump drive ready. Do it!" Reality twisted around them as the Sol Pride vanished into hyperspace, leaving the Valix ships behind. In the sudden quiet that followed, no one spoke. The bridge crew stared at their screens, unwilling to believe what they had witnessed. Finally, Captain Park Min-ho broke the silence. "Set course for Earth. Maximum speed." "Sir," the communications officer spoke quietly. "We're receiving a message." "From the aliens." On screen. The crystalline face that appeared was cold and emotionless. When it spoke, its words chilled everyone who heard them. "Tell your kind this is their only warning. Return to your small system and never venture beyond it again. The galaxy belongs to those worthy of it, not to crawling mammals who know nothing of power." The transmission ended. Captain Park Min-ho looked at the empty space where their colony had been. When he spoke, his voice carried a promise that would shake the galaxy. They killed our people like insects. They must learn what happens when you make humans angry. Behind him, Commander Choi Ji-woo quietly updated their course for Earth, knowing that this was not just a retreat, but the beginning of something far more terrible than the Valix could imagine. The Soul Pride arrived at Earth like a ghost ship, its hull scarred and its crew silent. Captain Park Min-ho stood on the bridge, looking at the blue and white sphere that was humanity's home. 3 months had passed since they left Kepler 7b. 3 months of carrying news that would change everything. Within hours of their arrival, every major world leader watched the horror unfold on their screens. The footage was clear. Children, playing in an alien sunset, then nothing but smoke and ash. The message was equally clear. Humanity was not welcome among the stars. President Kang Mi-ra stood at the podium in the United Nations building, her face carved from stone. The world watched as she spoke, her words measured and deadly calm. For 400 years we dreamed of reaching the stars to find new friends, new teachers, new partners. We offered friendship. They chose annihilation. Now they get both. Within 72 hours, something impossible happened. Nations that had been enemies for generations suddenly worked together. Old grudges were forgotten, borders became meaningless. Humanity had been insulted, and humanity would respond as one voice. Dr. Han Soo-jin worked without sleep in her laboratory beneath Geneva. Around her, the world's brightest physicists gathered, sharing secrets that had been hidden for decades. She stared at the alien energy readings from the Soul Pride sensors, her mind racing through possibilities. Here, she said, pointing to a pattern in the data. Their weapons use a specific quantum frequency. If we can disrupt it... Impossible, said a colleague. The energy requirements would be massive. Dr. Han smiled, but it wasn't a warm smile. Then we'll make it possible. Across the world in Seoul, engineer Yoon Dong-hyun led teams in developing what humans did best, adapting and improving. The alien ships had shown them something important. Static defenses weren't enough. They needed systems that could learn, grow, and change faster than any enemy could respond. Every ship will have its own AI, he explained to his team. Not just programmed responses, but truly adaptive thinking. When they learn our tactics, our ships will already be using new ones. In the Pentagon, Commander Oh Jae-hyuk transformed from a peaceful colonel into humanity's first supreme war leader. Reports flowed across his desk from every corner of Earth. Factories retooled overnight. Scientists abandoned peaceful research for weapons development. Teenagers enlisted faster than the military could process them. Sir, his aide reported, recruitment is at 300% of capacity. We have to turn people away. Don't turn anyone away, Commander O replied. If they want to fight, we'll find a place for them. Dr. Lim Hee-jung spent her days with fragments of alien technology recovered from the colony site. Each piece told a story of incredible arrogance. The alien systems were advanced but rigid, designed for beings who hadn't faced a real challenge in thousands of years. Look at this, she told her assistant, holding up a piece of crystal that had once been part of an alien weapon. It's efficient. Yes, but it can only work in one specific way, like a beautiful knife that cuts only one type of material. She smiled as she set the fragment down. We'll show them what happens when a knife meets a chainsaw. Months passed. Earth's surface changed. As millions worked with single-minded purpose, orbital shipyards expanded faster than anyone thought possible. New technologies emerged daily, as humans did what they'd always done best when threatened. They outthought, outworked, and out-innovated everyone else. In a secure facility in Norway, President Kang Mi-ra reviewed the progress reports. Ships that could appear and disappear at will, weapons that could adapt faster than biological evolution, armor that learned from damage and became stronger. 18 months, Admiral Jung Woo-jin said, standing beside her. That's when we'll be ready. 18 months, she agreed. And then they'll learn what humans are really capable of. The president looked out at the bustling shipyards visible through her window. Inside those metal structures, humanity's response to the Valix was taking shape. It would be elegant, efficient, and absolutely terrifying. Far away on other worlds, the Valix Council rarely thought about the small system they'd warned months ago, The primitive mammals had surely learned their lesson and returned to their single planet. If they thought about humans at all, it was with the casual dismissal of a cat thinking about ants. They had no idea that the ants had learned to build fire. Dr. Han Soo-jin's quantum disruptors hummed to life in test facilities. Yoon Dong-hyun's adaptive combat systems ran millions of simulations, each one deadlier than the last. Commander Oh Jae-hyuk's forces prepared with the patience of hunters, waiting for the perfect moment, and in 18 months the Valaks would discover that being technologically superior meant nothing against a species that refused to accept that superiority as permanent. The sleeping giant had awakened, and it was building weapons. The Valaks patrol ship, Eternal Dawn, drifted peacefully through the Zeta-7 system, its sensors scanning the emptiness around the supply station orbiting the fourth planet. Commander Veltar examined his readings with boredom. 3 months had passed since the primitive mammals had been warned. The galaxy was quiet again, as it should be. Then reality shimmered. Captain Seo Hyun-woo's ship materialized from nothing, its ghost drive disengaging with barely a whisper. The human vessel looked like a dark blade against the stars, its hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. "Target the supply station," Seo Hyun-woo said calmly. "Dr. Nam, are your weapons ready?" Dr. Nam Ye-jin smiled from her position at the tactical station. Around her, holographic displays showed weapon systems that would have seemed like magic to the humans of just 2 years ago. "Adaptive systems online, Captain. Let's see how they handle plasma that thinks." The attack began without warning. Human. Weapons struck the Valak station, but these weren't ordinary projectiles. They were smart weapons, each one analyzing the target's defenses in real time and adjusting accordingly. The first shot punched through shields designed to stop conventional weapons. The second shot adapted to the station's emergency countermeasures. By the third shot, the weapons had evolved to match exactly what was needed. "Impossible," Commander Veltar whispered as his station exploded. "How are they penetrating our defenses?" His answer came as more human ships appeared. They moved like ghosts, phasing in and out of visibility, never staying in one place long enough to be targeted effectively. The Valak's weapons, powerful but predictable, struck empty space while the humans danced between dimensions. Within minutes, the supply station was destroyed. The Valak's patrol ship tried to flee, but Captain Seo Hyun-woo had studied Valak's tactics for months. He knew exactly where they would run. "Intercept course," he ordered. "Show them what happens when someone hunts humans." 3 systems away, Admiral. Kim Young-mi watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Each green dot represented a human fleet, and they were appearing throughout Valak space with surgical precision. "Status report," she requested. "Vanguard fleets have engaged 12 targets successfully," her aide replied. "No losses so far. The Valaks can't seem to track our ghost drive signatures." Admiral Kim Young-mi nodded. The ghost drive had been humanity's greatest breakthrough, allowing ships to exist partially in another dimension. To Valak sensors, human ships simply vanished and reappeared at will. "Remember," she broadcast to all fleet commanders, "we hunt them in the dark between stars. They wanted to treat us like prey. Now they learn what real predators can do." Lieutenant Bae Jun-seok piloted his stealth fighter toward the massive Valak's dreadnought Cosmic Dominion. The ship was 10 times the size of his fighter, bristling, with weapons and protected by shields that could stop asteroids. It should have been suicide to approach it alone, but Bae Jun-seok wasn't really alone. "Nanoswarm deployment ready," his AI assistant announced. The fighter's cargo bay opened, releasing millions of microscopic robots into space. They were invisible to Valak sensors, too small to track, but each one carried a purpose. The nanoswarm spread out like an intelligent cloud, flowing toward the dreadnought. They found tiny gaps in the hull, spaces where different materials met, places where maintenance panels weren't quite sealed. Within seconds, millions of nanobots infiltrated the alien ship. "Beginning internal takeover," Bae Jun-seok reported to his commander. Through his neural link with the nanoswarm, he could see the inside of the Valak ship. The aliens rushed to battle stations, but they had no idea their ship was already compromised. The nanobots found the ship's central computer core. Like viruses invading a body, they spread through the ship's systems, learning and adapting as they went. The Valeks had built their computer systems to be impenetrable from outside attacks, but they'd never considered an invasion from within their own ship. One by one, the dreadnought systems fell under human control. Weapons turned toward other Valek ships, shields lowered without explanation. The ship's engines shut down. "What's happening?" the Valek's captain demanded, but no one could answer. Their own ship was fighting against them. Bai Jun-seok docked with the dreadnought's main bay, now open and welcoming under his nano-swarm's control. He walked aboard with just a sidearm, while the ship's own defense systems cleared his path and sealed doors behind him. 20 minutes later, he emerged with 800 Valeks prisoners and a complete database of their military codes. Across the galaxy, the hunt continued. Human fleets appeared like nightmares in Valek space, striking supply lines, communication relays, and isolated outposts. Each attack taught the human weapons new tricks. Dr. Nam Ye-jin's adaptive systems grew more sophisticated with every battle, learning from Valek's defenses faster than the aliens could understand them. The worst part for the Valeks wasn't the destruction, it was the uncertainty. They couldn't predict where humans would strike next, couldn't track their ghost ships, couldn't understand weapons that changed their own nature mid-flight. A Valek's high commander sent a desperate message to the council. "They're not fighting like primitives. They're fighting like demons. Our tactics are useless. Our weapons miss ghosts. Our ships turn against us. How do we fight an enemy that becomes more dangerous with every battle?" The answer would come soon, but not in a way the Valeks expected. The Valek's High Council chamber fell silent as the reports came in. 30 systems had fallen in just 2 months. The humans weren't just winning, they were systematically dismantling everything the Valeks had built over millennia. "They're everywhere," whispered Council member Zethek, his crystalline skin pale with fear. "Our fleets run and they appear ahead of us. They're not just chasing us, they're herding us." On the planet Valeks Prime, massive screens showed the horror unfolding across their empire. Human ships moved like dark clouds through space, appearing wherever Valek's forces tried to make a stand. But these weren't simple battles anymore. The humans had developed something far worse than superior tactics. Colonel Ryu Sang-ho stood on the bridge of the Earth battleship, Retribution, watching his newest creation prepare to fire. The Planet Cracker weapon looked deceptively simple, sleek barrel extending from the ship's belly, but it contained compressed singularity generators that could tear apart gravitational forces themselves. "Target locked on Valek's industrial world Keth 9, his weapons officer reported. "They killed our children," Colonel Ryu said quietly. "Now they learn what real destruction looks like. Fire." The weapon discharged with a sound like reality tearing. The beam struck Keth 9's surface and continued straight through to the core. Within seconds, the planet began to crack apart. Its own gravity turned against it. The 40 million Valeks on the surface had just enough time to see their world splitting open before it collapsed into fragments. Across the galaxy, other Valeks worlds watched the recordings in terror. This was no longer war, it was extermination. Dr. Shin Da-hyun worked in her mobile laboratory aboard the research vessel, Darwin's Revenge. Around her, captured Valek's technology had been torn apart and studied. She held up a small vial containing a silver liquid that seemed to move on its own. "It's beautiful in its way," she told her assistant. "Nanomachines specifically designed to target Valek's DNA. They'll leave every other life form untouched, but to the Valeks," she smiled coldly. "Complete cellular breakdown within hours," the assistant swallowed nervously. "The Council wants to know if we can make it affect their entire species at once." "Already done," Dr. Shin replied. "We just need to introduce it to their water supply on any 3 worlds. Their trade routes will spread it for us." Admiral An Bo-ram received the 20th surrender offer that month. The Valek's message was desperate. Offering to pay reparations, surrender all territory and withdraw to a single system. She read it without expression, then deleted it. "Sir," her communications officer asked, "shouldn't we at least consider—" "They had their chance for peace," Admiral An interrupted. "They chose to murder our people instead. Now they face the consequences." She turned to her fleet commanders. "Continue the hunt, no mercy. No prisoners except for intelligence gathering. They wanted to teach us our place in the galaxy. Let's show them what that lesson looks like in reverse. The Valix leadership moved, again, fleeing to the galactic rim where they hoped distance might save them. The Council loaded their most valuable ships with treasures and technology, preparing to hide in the dark space between galaxies. Lieutenant John Kwang-Soo commanded the Deep Space Hunter Group Shadow Pack. His ships were specially modified for long-range pursuit, equipped with advanced sensors that could track quantum signatures across light years. When the Valix fleet disappeared into the void beyond the galaxy's edge, he followed without hesitation. Contact. In deep space, his sensor operator announced. Valix fleet heading for the Andromeda approach vector. Impossible, Lieutenant Jeon said. That's a 10,000-year journey without proper facilities. He paused, understanding flooding through him. The Valix weren't just fleeing, they were trying to escape to another galaxy entirely. Signal the fleet, he ordered. Full pursuit. If they think they can run to other galaxies, they're about to learn that humans have very long memories and even longer reach. The chase continued for months. Human hunter groups appeared wherever Valix fleets tried to rest or refuel. Each time, the aliens thought they'd found safety. Ghost ships materialized around them. No hiding place was secure. On Valix Prime, the last free world in their empire, the High Council watched their civilization crumble. Reports came in from every front. Planets destroyed, fleets scattered, colonies abandoned. The humans had achieved something no enemy had done in 5,000 years. They had broken the Valix Empire completely. They're not stopping, Council Member Kylar observed, watching the tactical display. Even our surrender isn't enough. They want us extinct. The final Valix fleet, containing their government and military leadership, made one last desperate jump into dark space. Behind them, human pursuit ships followed like patient predators stalking wounded prey. 16 months after the first human attack, the last Valix stronghold fell. Every world they had ever controlled now flew human flags, or belonged to species the Valix had once oppressed. The mighty empire that had dominated this part of the galaxy for millennia had been reduced to scattered refugees hiding in the void. And still, the humans hunted. The former Valix capital world stood silent under a cold sun. General Moon Jin-ho walked through the empty crystal palaces where the High Council once ruled. His boots echoed through halls that had witnessed 5,000 years of galactic politics. Now they witnessed something else, human occupation. The reconstruction teams are ready, sir, his aide reported. Where do you want them to start? General Moon looked at the towering spires that had once represented Valix power. Tear down everything with their symbols. Build something new, something that will remind whoever comes here what happens when you underestimate humanity. Around him, human engineers worked alongside freed alien slaves. The Valix had ruled dozens of species, keeping them as workers and servants. Now these species watched with wonder as their former oppressor's empire crumbled into dust. Director Hong Eunbi stood in the command center of New Seoul Station, humanity's new hub in this region of space. Before her, a massive holographic display showed the Terran defense grid. Thousands of automated defense platforms stretching across 40 systems. Each platform contained human technology that the Valix had never imagined possible. The grid is 80% complete, her chief engineer reported. No ship can move through this space without our permission. Good, Director Hong replied. Phase 2 involves the beacon networks. I want every ship in the galaxy to receive our message. Clearly, humans protect those who respect us. We destroy those who threaten us. On Earth, President Kwak Seung-hwan prepared for the most important speech in human history. Representatives from 70 alien species waited in the Great Assembly Hall, their various faces showing mixtures of fear, curiosity, and respect. He stepped to the podium and spoke words that would reshape galactic civilization. We came to the stars seeking friends. We found bullies. We offered peace. They gave us war. Now you see the result. His gaze swept across the assembled aliens. Peace through strength, respect through fear. This is humanity's promise to the galaxy. Work with us and prosper. Work against us and become history. The alien representatives shifted nervously. Some whispered among themselves. All remembered the Valix's mistake. Ambassador Sun Hee-young met with the delegation from the Kethran Collective 3 days later. The cat-like aliens had once been allies of the Valix, trading in weapons and sharing technology. Now they came with gifts and trembling hands. "We bring you the schematics to our defensive systems," the Kethran leader said, offering a data crystal. A gesture of goodwill. Ambassador Sun took the crystal without emotion. The Valix also thought gifts would save them. "But they gave us death first. You gave them weapons to kill humans. Why should we trust you now?" The Kethran leader's fur stood on end with fear. "Please, we didn't know—" "Ignorance is not an excuse," Sun interrupted. "But it might be forgiven. Once. You have 1 year to prove your species can coexist with humanity. Don't waste it." Lieutenant John Kwang-Soo floated in deep space, far beyond the galaxy's edge. His ships had finally cornered the last Valix fleet. Hundreds of crystalline vessels drifted powerlessly, their shields down, their weapons silent. The Valix High Council's final message was simple: "We surrender. We ask for mercy." John read the message twice, then opened a channel to them. "You showed no mercy to our colonists. You called us primitive mammals. You tried to exterminate us." His voice grew colder. "But we are not you. You may live, but you will never forget what happens when humans are pushed too far." He watched the Valix ships disappear into the darkness between galaxies, carrying the last remnants of a once mighty empire into exile. They would survive, but only as a reminder to the universe of what happened when anyone threatened humanity. Years passed. Human colonies spread across the galaxy like seeds in fertile soil. Former Valix worlds blossomed under human rule, becoming centers of trade and learning. Free species that had served the Valix now prospered under human protection. On New Sol Station, a memorial was built to honor those who died at Kepler 7b. Captain Park Min-ho attended the dedication ceremony, his hair now gray, but his eyes still sharp. He read the inscription aloud. 298 colonists died, so 8 billion humans could live free among the stars. Their deaths were not in vain. Dr. Nam Ye-jin, now Director of Human Defense Technology, spoke at the ceremony. "We started as explorers. They made us into conquerors. We accepted that role because it was necessary, but we will not forget the price of peace." In the crowd, former enemies and new allies stood together. Alien species that had never dared oppose the Valix now flew their ships alongside human vessels. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humans remembered. Humans adapted. Humans won. A young Kethran diplomat whispered to his elder, "Why are we celebrating their victory? Shouldn't we fear their power?" The elder Kethran, who had lived through the Valix War, replied quietly, "Because, child, they could have destroyed us all. Instead, they chose to build something better. That is why humans rule the galaxy now. That is why we follow them. They are not conquerors, they are teachers. And their lesson is simple: respect gets respect. Violence gets extinction." The monument stood eternal under alien stars, a promise kept and a warning delivered. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe. They were its guardians.